I'm Avery Fricks, proudly representing Senate District 9, Muskogee and Cherokee counties. Thank you for tuning in for another weekly update as to what's happening here at the State Capitol building.
And I'm Tim Turner, State Representative for House District 15. And I also proudly represent Muskogee, Haskell, McIntosh, Pittsburgh, and LeFlore counties. Again, like Avery said, like Senator Fricks said, we appreciate you tuning in. And Avery, what do you got going on this week over on the Senate side?
So this week's been a busy week at the Senate side, as well as I'm sure on the House side. It's our deadline to get all bills out of committee this week. So if a bill doesn't make it out of committee this week, it's essentially dead for the session. But I was very happy that we were able to pass an important piece of legislation that I authored, Senate Bill 868. Senate Bill 868 creates an act in the state of Oklahoma that says that there will not be sanctuary cities. We know immigration is a huge issue. President Trump spoke about it in his address to Congress just here recently. He's working hard to address illegal immigration. And the last thing we need to be in Oklahoma is to have a city or municipality or county be a roadblock for him achieving those goals. And so we passed this piece of legislation that says that every city, every county, law enforcement agency has to coordinate, has to work when asked with the federal ICE immigration agencies. And also, no cities, no counties can implement a policy as a sanctuary city. In the state of Oklahoma, it is so incredibly important that we work together with President Trump and his team to stop illegal immigration. You and I recently got to go to the border here a few months back with a group called FAIR. And when we went to that border, we learned a whole lot about what's happening with illegal immigration. We learned that every state in the nation now is a border state because of what's happening with the open borders. President Trump is, of course, trying to clean that up very quickly, but we need to help him do that. I think the numbers we heard from FAIR, which was back from 2023, was the latest statistic they had, but it said over 100,000 people in the state of Oklahoma are illegal aliens.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that when we talk about that, is we talk about the first people that we're going to look at, apprehend, and deport is those that are committing crimes.
Right.
Those that are committing
Absolutely.
violent crimes, drug crimes, and those that are plaguing our streets and our communities and hindering our tax-paying citizens with crimes such as distribution of methamphetamine, fentanyl, also any violent crime that we see. We know that that Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Bureau of Narcotics, all of those folks are teaming up right now with the new operation to come out. So I think it's very important that we make sure that Oklahoma taxpayers aren't paying for illegal immigrants who are here committing crimes.
Absolutely.
And on the House side, it's very exciting today. As Senator Fricks talked about committee, it's our last week of committees as well. Our committee structures are a little different. We have subcommittees and oversight committee, and today we were very blessed to get House Bill 2751. It was the first bill that I'd ran with House Bill 1989 that did not make it out of the Energy Committee. We were able to switch that language, clean some of it up, and Representative Trey Caldwell, chairman, actually reauthored it under a vehicle that he had to put it in, another bill, and was able to get it out of the Utilities Committee. And today we got out of the Energy Oversight, and basically that bill is taking care of our wind problem, our solar industry on the eastern side of Oklahoma. We talk about wind speeds of 9.5 miles per hour, population of 8.5 people per square mile, and then we also have a quarter-mile setback from property lines. And when you talk about that, it limits 48 counties in eastern Oklahoma. The only two counties that will be able to have industrial wind would be Push County and Pot County. But also with House Bill 2751 is we give local control back to the county commissioners where they can go to the vote of the people to decide if they want to opt in or opt out. We've heard the outcry of our citizens in eastern Oklahoma, and it's our job to work for you to make sure that we do your will here at the People's House.
The other big conversation up here at the Capitol is our state budget. Of course, we know that every year we have to pass a balanced budget. So unlike the federal government, we cannot pass spending without actually having some revenue to back it up. And so we have to pass a balanced budget, support that in the state of Oklahoma. But with that, it makes it certainly challenging during tough budget years. The governor has come out with a tax cut plan. He has a half and a path, is I think his name that he's calling it, where he wants to do a 0.5% cut on the income tax and then have a path to get to zero income tax in the state of Oklahoma. He believes this will make Oklahoma more business friendly. I believe it will help a lot of hardworking Oklahomans see some relief from the inflation that's being caused by the former presidential administration, the Biden administration. And so I certainly support doing some sort of a tax cut. But certainly we have to look at everything, bring it all to the table, and figure out how this state budget's going to look. The thing is that this budget isn't made in a silo. You've got to have the Senate on board, you've got to have the House on board, you've got to have the governor on board. You've got to have all three branches on board to get this budget passed. And so it's going to be some interesting conversations, because you've also, there's some conversations about the Medicaid expansion. It's going to be different. That was approved by the voters, put into our Constitution. And so right now the federal government pays 90% of that, the state pays 10%. But if that's moved to a 60-40 match like they're discussing right now, it's an extra $500 million off the top of our budget that we're constitutionally obligated to do. And so that could affect the state budget. You also look at Department of Mental Health, the consent decree, which was approved just here recently through the lawsuit with the Department of Mental Health. That's going to cost some money, right, Tim?
Yeah, it is. And when we talk about the budget, we also have to look at, we're already $280 million short deficit this year. And then we talk about the 60-40 split, another $500 million. So we're almost $800 million in the hole before we even start doing a flat budget, a budget reduction, whatever we have to do. And that's not even talking about, trying to do a tax cut to save Oklahoma taxpayers money. So there's a lot that has to be discussed. And again, the Senate and the House both have to come together on that. And, we might be here longer than May to get that done. But it's our will to make sure that you guys understand that we're working for you, that we get what's best for Oklahomans, not just for our districts, but also for all 4.1 million Oklahomans, because we have to make sure that we have a balanced budget, and that balanced budget makes sure that education, public safety, healthcare, everything's protected.
I think, you mentioned flat budget. My personal opinion is I think every agency needs to come in here and justify their budget. As a small business owner, I know you've dealt with budgets before. You know that you have to justify where your dollars are being spent. And just because you've always received this much money shouldn't be the reason that you get that money back. And, technology is advancing. We're able to do things more efficiently, more effectively. And so we've got to look at our administration costs, see where we can consolidate where it makes sense. And let's look at how we can be more efficient, how we can use technology better. And certainly, one of the things we didn't touch on was the prison. It looks like we may be having to purchase a prison here coming up soon, right?
Yeah, and that's a big topic. We have a
big chunk of money too, right?
Probably about $315 million. But
yeah,
we have a prison that we're looking at having to purchase, a private prison right now that we're contracting with. We have a lot of things, and when Senator Fricks talks about state agencies coming to the table, it's very important, because what we see and we hear, from a lot of folks is, well, there's slush funds. Well, folks, there's one-time monies that come from FTEs, full-time employment spots, things of that nature. There's a lot of things that need to be worked on. That's why in our appropriations, our sub-appropriations for each independent agency, we look at those. But there's a lot of work that has to be done. We've got to make sure that we take care of our state employees, but on the other side, we make sure that all directors come to the table and know that in hard times, we have to make hard decisions.
And I think that's, at the end of the day, our job is to represent the people. And one of the reasons why I think Representative Turner and I work so well together is that we take some positions and some stances up here that maybe aren't the most popular stances. Being up here and taking a stance against wind energy is not the most popular stance. Being up here and taking a stance saying, hey, look, we need to make sure that we really analyze this budget and maybe make some cuts and return our taxpayers' dollars back to those taxpayers, is not always the most popular stance. But that's something that we're willing to make those tough stances. We're willing to take those tough votes, because at the end of the day, we know it's not the people in this building that elected us. It's the people back home that elected us. And so you'll always see us standing for what's right and what we believe will benefit our districts the most.
And I think one other thing on a positive light, House Bill 1995, which is my school resource officer bill, which basically puts school resource officers in the same category as teachers and coaches, where it makes them, on the Oklahoma State statute, where if they have sexual contact with a student, that they are charged and held the same way as a teacher would be, even if they're in classroom, out of classroom, off duty, on duty. Went to the floor today and was voted out 96-0.
Congratulations on that.
Pretty exciting to have your first bill come off the floor, especially with a unanimous vote. And there's 99 folks in the House right now, 99 representatives, and 3 were absent. So we had 96, and all were green today. So that was exciting.
Representative Turner and I both hosted Polly Shoemake, who was our nurse of the day at the Capitol this week. She works for the VA in the Muskogee area. She is a great nurse. She actually survived breast cancer just last year. Incredible lady, incredible story. Really honored to have her as our nurse of the day this week. It's so cool to get to see those folks from the district come up here and get to recognize them.
Not just get to recognize them, but be able to be part of their a day for them that gets to honor them in both chambers and to show them that we appreciate what they do. I think also it's very nice to see our folks from back home come to the Capitol, come by and visit us. Today we had several commissioners come by. We've had some folks on our mental health. I mean, everybody that comes by, we want you to come by and see us. We want you to come to our office. We might be in committees or we might be in meetings, but we will try to make a point to visit with you because we believe that it's important that you guys see what we're doing and we know your needs. So again, we appreciate you sending us up here. Avery, do you have anything else?
This is the people's capital, right? So it's your place just as much as it is ours. So please feel free to come by anytime. Our office, my Senate office, is room 413.
And my office is 500.
So come by.
Again, we work for you. This is the people's house, and we're here for you every day of the week. So thank you very much.
Representative Turner, I would be remiss if I did not recognize Leadership Tahlequah. And I know Tahlequah's outside of your district, but you have some good relationships there. We had a group, Leadership Tahlequah, that was up at the Capitol this week. Incredible group of people from the Tahlequah Chamber of Commerce. Some great questions, really good group. Was honored to host them and recognize them on the floor. And so big shout out to Leadership Tahlequah.
Yeah, and they came over on the House side. Representative Colbert, Bob Ed, he gave them a shout out as well. He made sure they was acknowledged. And, we always like to see groups like that. We've also had our Stigler Health and Wellness group come by as we're discussing Oklahoma's 340B program, or the U.S.'s 340B program, which is a prescription program.
Is that going to come to an end here? Is that the issue?
Well, I don't think it's going to come to an end. I think there's been several talks because it's a federal program that really helps rural Oklahoma healthcare.
Helps them out a ton. Yeah.
So
imagine the price of prescriptions without 340B.
So without 340B, and the problems that we see with it is, we have pharmacists who are saying that, hey, they're paying more for prescriptions than what pharmacies on the 340B plan are. We have hospitals that are wanting to contract. So I know this week, our hospitals, our FQHCs with our health and wellness centers, our pharmacists, they're all getting together. They're all working together because I believe that to make good policy, it's not good for anybody. It's what everybody can come together and have a good idea. Not everybody is going to leave happy, because if one side leaves happy, then we've leaned too far one way. To make a bill good is we all work together, and everybody has to give a little bit to get a thing over the hump. And that's the thing that we're seeing right here with 340B. I know that my office mate has worked hard on it, along with Representative Stinson. They've worked hard here recently. I know that they've been over at the Senate side as well. So hopefully we can get that. It's been a several-year bill. Hopefully they can get over the hump this year, and FQHCs, rural hospitals, and pharmacists are all taken care of in the deal.
Can we work for you, the people of Senate District 9?
And I work for the folks in House District 15.
Thanks for tuning in today.
And again, remember, you can always come to 23rd and Lincoln and see us. Our house is always open because it's your house.
Or you can call us on our cell phone numbers listed here below. Give us a call anytime. We'd be glad to meet with you in district, or how we can help you, whether that's navigating a state agency or talking about important policy for our state.
Thank you and have a good day.
Appreciate you so much. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in.
And God bless the state of Oklahoma.
Thank you.